This is Gary by the Chalkboard. My guest today is Eric Fontaine. Eric, you are an entrepreneur, you're a business owner, husband, you're a father, and most recently, you started a podcast called RDO, Resist, Defy, Object. Eric, welcome to By the Chalkboard.
Excellent. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me, Gary.
And it's good to have you on. I am inspired by your past, your history that you have told, your story. You have an awesome story to tell that I think a lot of people would really benefit from and get some encouragement from, because you faced a lot of adversity in life, and man, you just kept going and kept going and kept struggling and pushing through. And man, I want to I just I want to open the microphone to you so you can share uh, some of the things that you've experienced in life, because you didn't start out in life when you were young having everything handed to you.
No, definitely not. Um, Now, I do want to start with this, and that's no matter where you start, no matter how bad it is, somebody always has it worse. So that's something I've kept in mind over the years that I think has helped me keep a little perspective, instead of feeling sorry for myself or, just having self-pity for the struggles that I did have. Just knowing that somebody somewhere has it worse, just kind of puts things into perspective for me and helps me to keep a forward mindset. So, but I will say, I did not have a great childhood. Um, I guess the short version would be uh, had to grow up quick and take on adult responsibilities at an early age. So, I was basically taking care of myself by age 5. Um, so I didn't have a normal childhood in many senses of the term. Um, and other than that, my parents both had me, or they were both young when they had me. And so when I was around them and how I did grow up was it was basically an adult party, I hate to say, but most of the time it was, a bunch of adults drinking, partying, carrying on,
Hmm.
and just not a real ideal or a stable environment. But for me, I think it had sort of an opposite effect. So I was exposed to all that stuff at a very young age, and I had no interest in it as I grew older. So, yeah, I carried on like a normal high schooler, I would say, but I kind of went through that phase and was laser focused on business and getting somewhere because I didn't want to just keep being in that situation and keep living that in that type of environment, I should say.
Did you always have a desire to work for yourself? Because you seemed to be very motivated in your when you were younger to constantly try to make money or do something.
Yeah, it's funny. I've had this discussion with some other friends, and I don't know definitively whether there's something attached to being a child and having a natural entrepreneurial spirit, or if it's something that was just refined over time. But I can even remember looking back as a kid, I was always business minded. Like I would fix my bike, and then the thought would dawn on me, hey, I know how to fix this now. I could fix other kids' bikes and
Hmm.
I could charge $1. And so I do look back and see a lot of moments like that. I didn't necessarily know how to put it together, but it was always a focus that I think naturally popped into my head. I was always coming up with inventions and ideas and things like that, and I still do. So what I'm doing now is kind of just working in phases and layers to bring those ideas to fruition. So I've climbed the employee ladder, so to speak, um, to the point where, I got a job out here with the utility company. And for those who don't know where I'm at, I'm in Charlotte, North Carolina. I moved here just over 3 years ago from Fort Worth, Texas, for a job opportunity, and that's kind of been my journey: is get a better job, and just keep trying to earn more, and then finally hitting the point, in part by you know accident or fate, if you want to say that, and in part just a result of pushing towards that progress. But what happened was, when I moved out here, I knew I was going to have to sustain for about 6 to 8 months, when I would be on that entry level pay. So I knew that financially I was going to have to do something on the side, some kind of extra work in order to get by. And at that time, the answer was use the little bit of money that I had left over to get a trailer and some basic lawn care equipment, to go ahead and get started doing that on the side. And doing that in order to survive actually opened up the door a little bit down the road in order to thrive, with the cleaning business that I started probably a year after that, a little over a year after that. So survival led to thriving in that sense. And that's kind of how I made that transition over time from employee to self-employed. And that's where I am now.
So you started a lawn care business, and you said that your very first job you destroyed your lawnmower. Tell me about that.
Yes. Yes. So, first of all, let me say this was not something that I was good at. I mean, I was good at cutting the grass, my lawn, but what I'm saying is I don't want people to look at this and think that I knew exactly what I was doing, that I was all like had money stacked up to do this. No, this was do or die for me. Literally. I
Mm.
mean, if I didn't make this work, we weren't going to be able to pay the bills for another month. Like, we would have sank first month. So I made the move out here on credit cards and maxed everything out. I really went all in on this move, and I knew I had to make it work. I had a little bit of money saved up from income tax that I was keeping in cash while I paid bills with credit cards. And I was like, okay, I got to make this work. So I already had a lawnmower. It was an old self-propelled that didn't really self-propel. I mean, it wasn't that great. It was just an old, heavy 21-inch lawnmower, regular size. So this is what I was working with, just for perspective. Had a little cheap weed eater, nothing special. So I'm like, okay, the fastest way I know to start getting clients is just get out there and knock on doors. And I started in my own neighborhood. So the first house that I knock on ended up being my first client. And I said, you know what, I'm just going to do it right now just to get started, lock them in. And so I knocked on the door. It was a nice family, talked for a little while, and they're like, okay, sure, we'll do it. So first door, first client, and I start going at it, and I got about 70, 75% completed, and I'm finishing the backyard. And as I'm mowing down across the yard, bam, without warning, without any indication, I slam into a sewer manhole lid,
Ugh.
cast iron, and it just destroyed the mower instantly. I mean, there was there was there was no working around it. And I'm like in denial, I'm in disbelief. And I pull the mower aside and I'm sitting here trying to crank it, trying to start it again. It's smoking. It was popping when I first hit the thing. And what I did was I blew the engine, and it wrecked it so bad that it actually was leaking oil. I didn't realize at the time, but I was like, oh man, okay, let me just push this around. I'll deal with it later, and I'll finish up with the weed eater. So I pushed it onto the trailer. It's leaking oil, and this is all, like I said, first day, first client. Um, and I didn't even finish with the mower or finish mowing the yard. And then bam, this happened. So um, it was, I had a lot of anxiety. I was just trying to keep my head straight, finish it. And I did. I finished up with the weed eater. And then there was this moment where I'm like, okay, I can either quit now as a failure and just tuck my tail and walk away defeated, or I can just take a deep breath, shrug it off, and take the next step. So I'm like, you know what? I already spent money on this trailer. I'm already invested, and I've got to do this either way. So as much as this sucks, I've just got to pick up and find a solution. So I finished it. I made it look good with the weed eater, finished up the last bit, and then I took off to an equipment supplier to try to figure something out, either see if they could fix it, see if I could finance something. And they immediately knew they couldn't fix it. They're like, no, that thing's destroyed. They saw it leaking oil. They're like, no, so there's no way that thing's done. So then I'm like, okay, well, let me see if I can finance something. That would put me way ahead. I'd be working with great equipment, but I wasn't able to finance anything because I had maxed those credit cards out, and that doesn't look good on your credit. So I was like, damn, I only had a little bit left to work with, and they had. I said, let me see what you have used, and they had this little commercial mower that I still have to this day. I'm gonna put a picture up because I keep telling this story, but I'm gonna put a picture up of this mower I still have. It's a little 21-inch commercial mower, and you see me grinning over here because I'm proud of how much work I put in with that little thing. I've mowed hundreds of yards with that little mower, and it's still working just perfect today. So that um, that turned out to be the best thing that could have happened for me because that mower was way better. I got a great deal on it, and I learned a very important lesson about how vital it is to walk the yard carefully and look out for things like that. And I've never let that happen again since then. So everything happens for a reason, I
Yeah.
believe.
Yeah, I definitely want to see a picture of that mower. That's a trophy.
It is. That's all it is to me now. I don't even use it. I just keep it in good shape and basically keep fuel stabilizer in it all the time. And I'll just go out there and start it, and then I'll just turn it off and put it back up.
Yeah, yeah, I love that because that's what I would do. I would have to go start it once in a while, just stand there and grin, and go, "Yep,
Yeah.
still running after all this time." But that's what got me going here, is
That's
that mower right
it.
there.
Yeah.
Man, I
So,
love that. So how long did you do a lawn care business?
um, well, I did it that full season. So it was about 8 or 9 months that I did it that first year. And then recently this past year, and there's something that happened in between that I'll swing back to, but I did it for that first year, and then I just did it for this last season. And I want to say about 3 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I just sold off the last of my accounts. So, um, which it wasn't a ton of accounts, but I just kind of sold what I had. And then I've got like a zero turn mower that I'm going to sell, and that'll be the last of it. So I already sold my trailer and everything. So that first year, and then most of this year.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so that opportunity in life led to opening up more opportunities in life that you're working on now, pursuing now.
Yeah. So what I learned in forging that from scratch was how to get myself on listed online, how to start getting business, how to start getting clients, how to build a website, at least on an amateur level, something that's going to work, that's going to, you know, allow me to operate a functional business. And just literally from ground zero to what it is now. And we have one of the top cleaning companies in Charlotte now. So, what I learned from knowing nothing and trying to push the lawn care, um, and it, two different businesses, but they're both service related business. And there's really a lot of interchangeable parts there that I realize now you can do with any business. Honestly, any service related business is essentially the same to establish. So those are the tools that I had in my toolbox from doing the lawn care, and it just made it 100 times easier to go out and do it again. You know, with the cleaning. So
Yeah.
um, yeah,
Yeah. One lesson builds into the next one, doesn't it? Every piece of
yeah,
experience that you can gather, you can use it again and again and again and just express it in different ways.
it always translates. You know, I don't care what you're doing, whether you're fishing, whether you're doing hair, whether you're uh, doing martial arts, everything that you learn in one way or another can translate into new knowledge within your own mind if you let it. You know, there's some ambiguous element to learning and intelligence where we can actually learn new things from pre-existing um, experience and information.
Yeah, I would say so. Man, that's a great story. Hey, you'd mentioned, I think on one of your vlogs that you kind of struggled for years to succeed. We'll use that word. And then you said everything changed in a month. You remember saying
Yes.
that?
Yep.
What happened? Tell me about that, where you're struggling and something within 1 month just opened up a wonderful part of your life.
Yeah. Looking back, you know, I had all the right intentions, but life is life is challenging. It's I look at it like I don't know if you've ever gotten, maybe if you accidentally bite your cheek or your lip while you're eating, and
Yeah.
then it's something it's slow healing because you're always eating. You got to eat 2-3 times a day on average, so it's something that's not getting a break. It's
Yeah.
got to keep going every day. And in a way, your mind, your body is kind of the same. You don't get a break in life. You got to keep going. So you might get a couple days off from work, but then you got to get back to it. So there's an element there to where, and I can only speak for myself, but I think it's a common struggle, you know, growing up with lack of self-esteem, growing up struggling with, a dysfunctional household, and maybe some depression issues or anxiety, and things that follow a dysfunctional environment tend to stick with you and present challenges in your adult life. And I think part of the reason is we oftentimes don't have an opportunity to work those things out and, you know, get to a point where our needs are met, where we don't feel that our head is bobbing underwater and that we're overwhelmed. So all of this plays a role in your mindset, your confidence, and where you see yourself fitting into the world. So while I was ambitious and while I was making progress in life, it was, some would call it very fast progress, some would call it slow. And I can only speak in relation to looking back, like what I know I could have done. I was making slow progress, in my opinion. And that's just me being, critical of myself based on what I know is possible. So that said, it's kind of a long-winded version, but I'm trying to build context for what happened there. So I've been pressing forward, trying to get a better job over time. Any opportunity that presented for me to step into a better line of employment, I would. And so I have a range of experience as a result. But what happened was I finally got a great job out here, making more money than I had ever made. And again, that's just in contrast to what I was making before. I wasn't like rich or making any crazy amount of money, but it was going to be decent pay and more than I had previously made. Um, and I was settling into the idea that, okay, well, I'll work here, for 5 years or so. I'll save up, I'll do this, I'll do that. And then I'll get to the business, then I'll have time. Then I'll have enough saved up. All these excuses to why, okay, when everything's right, then I'll be able to make that jump. Well, what happened was a couple things happened. First thing that happened was I had a supervisor after my probationary period. Everything was going great. And then after 6 to 8 months, once you get promoted essentially to your new position, you also transfer to a new supervisor. So they hire in groups, and they transferred our group to our new supervisor. And for whatever reason, the next supervisor had it out for me, and so it 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 got to a point to where I was basically being discriminated against. And I want to clarify there, this wasn't a racial discrimination issue. This was just a personal uh, discriminatory case where I was basically just dealing with a complete psycho, just the one person in the building giving me a hard time. And so that was the first wake up call. And I'm like, you know what, man, I'm not about to deal with all this. I got to the point where I'm like, once income tax hits, I'm getting my equipment and I'm going lawn care full time. That was my mindset at the time. I'm like, and this was just a few months away. So I'm like, I've had enough of this. This is ridiculous. I'm not going to have my job put in jeopardy because someone doesn't like me, basically. So um, to sum that up, I outperformed on everything. Everyone I worked with spoke highly of me. And there's just this one guy messing the deal up. So that was already my mindset. So I'm like, you know what? I'm projecting situation to get out of here as soon as income tax hits. I'm gonna get my equipment and go all in. And then unfortunately, well, fortunately, now looking back, about right about that time, I was working. I was working on a job. We had to come back for some equipment from the, you know, from the garage, get some equipment from the garage. And there was a supplier there unloading supplies to our garage. So we went ahead and helped him. And, the guy I was working with was like, hey, let's help him get this out of the way so we can get our stuff. Well, in the midst of unloading supplies off a flatbed truck, this guy, this third party supplier, not another employee, but just basically a parts delivery company, he actually dropped a 21-foot section of pipes over my head, and is about 247 pounds. So no joke there. And that dropped from about 12 feet or so over my head, down onto me, and a very unbalanced positioning. And I had to catch it to keep it from smashing me and likely killing me or paralyzing me. So it was going to fall right towards my head and neck area, my shoulder area. So I ended up catching it very awkwardly, and it's very heavy. It also switched on me when I caught it. It levered and swung, and it tore me up pretty bad.
Wow.
I didn't realize in that moment yet. I knew I had messed something up. I knew my back was swelling up, and I was starting to feel little signs that, hey, you just messed yourself up. But I went and finished the workday, and I was doing a lot more manual labor, digging trenches and laying gas line, and just doing all kinds of stuff. And you know, as the day came to a head, I was like, you know what? I need to report this. I need to document this, and just in case I'm not feeling so well tomorrow. And sure enough, man, the next day it really felt like I got hit by a truck. I mean, I couldn't get out of bed.
Hmm.
So I couldn't get out of bed for the first 2 days. Um, I mean, I can't even, unless you've been through an injury like that, there's not really any comparison or any words to express um, what it feels like to be completely tore up. I had a few bulging discs in my back. I tore my the labrum on my left shoulder. I had some nerve damage. Um, you know, I was it was basically as one step away from catastrophic damage. So luckily, I've made a pretty full recovery, but that put me in a predicament because things already weren't great prior to that at the job. And now I wasn't really in a position to do the lawn care. So I was also trying to heal up, and it ultimately took me about 11 months to make a recovery from that. So it's
Hmm.
a very long, slow process, but I knew early on, I was like, okay, well, I better figure something out, because right after that injury, my wife lost her job.
Wow.
And so I was already, on reduced income essentially. And now, boom, double whammy. Now she lost her job, and, the bills weren't waiting, childcare wasn't waiting. I had to figure something out. And what I did was I finished the website for the cleaning. I got that up, and I got us um, listed on certain platforms. I did the local SEO. I just got busy doing what I could when I could with what I had. And that's something that I live by now. You can stay stuck, or you can just take a deep breath when things get challenging and do what you can when you can with what you've got. And that's what I got busy doing. And that's all I could do. So what happened was it took about 2 weeks, just over 2 weeks, 2 weeks and a couple of days to get that all set up. And then we started getting clients. That's it. I mean, that's what happened. I put the work in instead of, crying and whining about my circumstance, and I wasn't getting any sleep. I really can't express how difficult of a time this was for me. I was very depressed. I was very stressed. I was in agony over the amount of pain I was in. I couldn't sleep. I was sleeping one, maybe 2, 3 hours a night, and it wasn't good sleep. And that, again, it was just excruciating pain. Um, it wasn't a good time, but I went through it. Things slowly got better. After a few months, I started taking CBD, but the core transition, the core change happened within that first month and a half. So I put the work in, I got the foundation set up, and I made projections. I'm like, okay, if we just get one job a day, where would that put us? Okay, well, that we should make 3,000 this month if we just got one job a day for 6 days a week. We should be at least $3,000, and ended up doing like 3,500 the first month. So it's not magic. It's not something that I have, special qualifications or education for. What I have is a lot of grit. That's it. I don't give up, and that doesn't mean I don't want that I don't feel the inclination to give up, or that I don't feel overwhelmed or stressed or inadequate or any number of things. I'm I struggle to do new things like anyone else, but I think the key that I've learned through everything is just perseverance, the importance of perseverance. And one of my favorite motivational speakers, Les Brown, says, if you fall, make sure you fall on your back, because if you can look up, you can get up. If you can, and a lot of people may not know who he is, or they may know of some others, but another way to put it is, Jocko Willink and the good philosophy. Everything's good. Okay, got injured, good. More time to work on the business.
Yes.
That's This didn't work, good. Now you can rule that out. Now you're one step closer to figuring out the answer. All right, got the business going, good. Keep going, and now everything's a challenge. It's things come in cycles. There's a lot of good, and then it's just a cycle. You can expect good and bad, and you got to roll with it. But everything is an opportunity, no matter how terrible it seems. Everything is an opportunity, if nothing else, for you to change, reevaluate your situation, and do something new, do something different in a positive way. And that's the long and short of how I went from being at a job, struggling with a particular supervisor, making my life terrible, and then getting hit with an unexpected injury that I had no control over, and not knowing, not having any certainty as to whether I would even be able to recover, or whether I destroyed my back, or I didn't know where I was at that time, but I had to just take a deep breath and say, okay, well, what am I going to do about it? Because it's already done. It's not changing right now. So what am I going to do next?
Hmm.
What am I going to do about this? What can I do? And I just had to work with that. And over time, like I said, things did get better. CBD is a lifesaver. It's just to put that out there. I always advocate for CBD. A lot of people get anxiety relief from CBD. I got anxiety and pain relief. Uh, and I don't say that lightly. I got substantial pain relief from CBD, and that allowed me to start healing because it reduces the inflammation. And this isn't medical advice. I'm not a doctor. I'm just saying what helped me.
Well, I can tell you from my at least experience of studying and reading quite extensively on CDB oil that it seems to have tremendous benefits. There's
It's amazing.
tons of evidence out there and research to show how beneficial it is and how it helps relieve pain. It
Yep.
seems to me that the CBD oil um, that has the THC in it is even more effective. And I know in Texas, I don't think you can get that yet. Maybe with a medical prescription. I think in Colorado you can get it. I know in Alaska you can get it with the THC oil. You can walk down to the
Okay.
store and buy it. So yeah, I think more people need to know about that because it seems to be one of those things that has very limited or no side effects, no interactions with uh,
Yeah.
any drugs, and has a tremendous amount of beneficial relief for people who are in pain.
Absolutely. I mean, it changed my life. And my physical therapist was actually the one who recommended that I try this place out. And it was a CBD dispensary. And they actually, told me based on what I had going on, okay, here would be the best one for you and which brand and all that. So that's how I got onto it. And I've since done more research, and there is, if anyone wants to look at the case studies, the actual scientific research around it, it has had success curing cancer in the U.S. and in Canada. There are case studies to support that, and it's after trying muscle relaxers and high dosage ibuprofen and Tylenol and everything in the book, nothing was helping me. And I took CBD one time, and within about 40 minutes, felt immediate relief.
Hmm.
So it was unreal. I couldn't believe how much it helped. So not all brands are created equal. So if you are thinking about trying it, keep in mind I tried two or three other ones prior to that with no success. So um, it's definitely quality varies from brand to brand. So I'll just say that.
And for anyone listening who doesn't know what CDB oil is, CDB oil is hemp oil. I'm hungry, Dad. And a higher quality, not a higher quality of that, but um, hey, it's all right.
All right, say again.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was just talking about CDB oil and letting anybody listening to know, to give them a little information about what that is because it's hemp oil, and I
Yep.
think it's legal in just about every state.
Yes.
Now, there's a difference between hemp and marijuana. Marijuana oil, from what I understand, has the higher concentration of THC in it, which seems to be even more effective for pain. And there are
Okay.
some states you can get that in. You'll just have to look up and see what kind of information you can get wherever you live, but it's worth looking into.
Yeah, for sure. And
Yeah.
if if anything, CBD, again, no side effects. It's not psychoactive. It's like you said, it's pretty much legal everywhere, and it's safe for everybody. So it's hard to beat that.
And I think it's just about impossible to overdose on, from what I have read, that I don't
Oh
think
yeah.
anyone has.
No, you'd
Yeah,
just be wasting it. You could
right,
drink the
right.
whole bottle and all you would do is waste it. So yeah, I
Yeah.
took the sublingual, the oil
Hmm.
under the tongue, and it was. I still take it, same brand, just kind of as needed, and I can go on all day about CBD, but
Yeah.
it's definitely a lifesaver.
I'm glad it helped you. I know people who have benefited from, uh, well, I'll be slightly specific. I know someone who's been in chronic pain for a long time in their life because of an injury that happened. And uh, being in Texas, where smoking marijuana is not legal, he told me, he goes, "Don't tell anybody this, but," he said, "the greatest pain relief I get is smoking marijuana sometimes." He said, "The drugs, the pain medication that they gave me was effective at the beginning for a very short amount of time, and then it started losing its effectiveness." So it's one of those things that, yeah, many states have explored, and I hope Texas legalizes it, because I think a lot of people who are in pain would benefit from it here. And I know several guys who have back injuries that just refuse to take medication anymore, pain meds, because they hate the way it makes them feel. So,
Yeah, there's a ton of negative side effects that come along with it, and a lot of people get addicted to the narcotic, um, the opioids. They're
mhm,
higher strength, um, and they're all liver toxic. It's just a bad deal.
yeah,
One of the most common side effects is intestinal bleeding. They're not meant to be taken long term, and that's just, it doesn't equate if your health is one of your top priorities. So I do think more people need to know about it, explore it, have access to it. If they legalize marijuana, I might move back to Texas.
yeah. I don't know if they're gonna do that anytime soon. So I I, I don't
Yeah.
follow it too closely. I've never smoked marijuana in my life. I never had anything within me that wanted to do that, and I know a lot of people who have, and I completely support whatever you want to do in life. That's your business. For me, I always wanted just to be conscious in whatever I was doing, and I think that helped me get to
Yeah.
the place I am now. So, but
I'm the same way. I've smoked twice ever in my life, which most people probably wouldn't believe, but I smoked once on accident in high school. I thought it was a cigar. And then once, really for the first time voluntarily, like last or this spring. So like around March.
yeah.
So there's a trade-off. I think it affects everyone differently. Um, I get way funnier. Like I just kill it on every joke,
Yeah.
but I definitely lose a bit of conscientiousness. So I
Mm.
don't think I could do it like daily. There's no way. But
Now, are you more funny to
yeah,
yourself or to other people?
no, the other people,
Yeah, they
yeah,
recognize that,
I
huh?
don't.
Kind of
Yeah,
lets
yeah.
you let
But
down,
I
and
could I could probably do stand up if
yeah.
I was high the whole time.
Oh man,
I'd
that's
probably
interesting.
kill it.
Yeah.
I'd be willing to try it. But yeah, no, it's kind of a social lubricant, I believe is the term, and
Mm,
it lets you relax. So it has its purpose, but I think it can be abused as
mm,
well. I don't think it's addictive, but I think it can be abused like anything else, just like
yeah,
food or you know any number of things. You can overindulge in it. So
yeah.
I've stayed sober 100%. other than that. And I don't. What are your philosophies on like alcohol, for example?
Well, I really enjoy a glass of wine um,
Okay.
in the evening because it helps calm me down. If there's one thing that I use to help calm me down, it's that. I have never been a social drinker. I never took a drop of alcohol till I was 28. I never drank in high school. I never wanted to. It was never appealing to me. That's just how I was made. I always wanted to be conscious in what I was doing. Um, I've only ever used it to go to sleep. The first time I ever drank alcohol, it was because I was having trouble sleeping, and someone recommended getting some whiskey and 7 Up and just putting a little bit in there and go and to help me relax, and it did. That first bottle lasted me a year and a half, I think, and that's how it went until I went through a midlife crisis, starting when I was 37, getting fired from a job, gaining weight, going into depression, being isolated, having a full blown anxiety attack, and then having sub anxiety attacks after that. I started drinking more to go to sleep
Mm,
because I
yeah.
was anxious about going to sleep and having an anxiety attack and waking up in the middle of it. So the only way I could go to sleep was to try to drink more to go to sleep. And that doesn't
Yep.
work, but
That's the slippery slope.
that's where I was. And it wasn't that I liked alcohol. I was not an alcoholic. Um, I had a counselor tell my ex-wife that because we went to see him and he's like, he's not an alcoholic. He's trying to go to sleep. I get it. But it was still a struggle for a couple of years, 2 or 3 years to get through that and to get back to this point where to me it's just something to enjoy once in a while. And that's it. And
Yeah.
that's all I do. I have a little at night, not every night, but I enjoy sitting down to have a glass of wine. And that's for me, that's all I really enjoy. You know, if
Hmm.
somebody comes over with a beer, which happened literally one time this year, I had a beer with somebody. I've had one this year. I'll sit down with someone and have them. I had I've had one small glass of shot of whiskey this year because I was in the cigar shop here and somebody offered me some. I'm like, yeah, I'll try. Just give me a taste. Sitting there with them. Other than that,
Hmm.
it's not appealing to me. What's become appealing to me in my life is to be consciously aware of greater possibilities of life. That's much more interesting to me. But I want to be
Yeah.
fully
And you get
conscious when I'm exploring that.
and you get to own that. That's the nice thing about it. It's like even through the worst times, even through the struggle, if you're sober and it's you, you get to own it and you get to make something out of it if you choose to. So I think that's nice. But I was just curious. I always like to, see people's thoughts on both, because one is controversial, yet the other one is socially and legally acceptable, but it appears to do a lot more damage to people's lives. Just
Yeah.
the availability of alcohol. You can easily overindulge in that. And like I drank a lot in high school. Like I know that sounds backwards, but I like junior, senior year, um, you know, I would go to parties, I would drink, and then it just got old and I just got over it. And the last drink of alcohol that I ever had was New Year's Eve 2012. I haven't had a drink since.
Mm,
No interest.
yeah.
So it's interesting to see how we all kind of navigate through these things. And, um, I'm always inspired by other people's experiences, whether good or bad. So,
Yeah.
the
Me too.
wine, it's interesting that a lot of people gravitate to the one or two glasses of wine because generally the wine is high in resveratrol, content. I don't know if you are aware of resveratrol, but it's a supplement you can take as well.
Yes.
Um, and it's kind of helps. It's a powerful antioxidant, and there's a lot of studies that indicate resveratrol helps basically in your cell preservation and general health. So
Hmm.
I can see the benefit in that. Um, just at least the resveratrol content in itself.
Yeah. So, got to ask you about this because this is important. Your podcast that you started called RDO, Resist, Defy, Object. Let's talk about that for a little bit because I want to talk about your podcast and let people know what Eric Fontaine is bringing on his podcast. So tell us what you're doing.
Yeah, definitely appreciate that. Appreciate the opportunity to go into that a little bit. So, this is something that has an idea that has been spawned along the way through my own struggle and through my own process and journey of getting unstuck. And like right now, I consider myself to be at phase one of getting unstuck, which is going self-employed. And then after that, the idea is to go from self-employed to just owner, right? So you're no longer working in the field. Well, I guess I'm like owner operator right now. So I'm still involved in the management portion. But just to get back on track here, the purpose, the sole purpose of my podcast, RDO, Resist, Defy, Object, is resist conformity, defy limitation, object corruption. And I want to give people the insight and information that they need to get unstuck in terms of money, time, and freedom through self employment. And it's not for everyone, it's not a solution to everything. But I think if people had the opportunity to tune in, if they had a source that they could go to that would show them how they can start their own business, how they can go self employed and go from making whatever they're making to maybe 8 to 10 grand a month. And that, I mean, these are just real numbers here across the service industry. So I don't care if you're dog grooming, I don't care if you're firearms instruction, lawn care, cleaning. There's a number of businesses that would offer that potential. So this is no get rich quick. This is not passive income, and this is not overnight. But if you put the work in, like I said, it took me 8 years to get to the point where I finally did it, but it really only took me a month to actually make the jump, make the transition. And, you know, I did it out of no choice. I had to. I had to do something in order to survive. And oftentimes that's when we tap into our greatest potential. So I invite people to challenge themselves and you know, if they have a skill set or an interest that they've always wanted to dive into, then my goal is to help them unlock that and achieve that transition and go self-employed and take it to the next level from there. So I want people to know that one thing I always finish each video with is you have the power, you are the solution. Resist, defy, object. Take care of your world. And that's what it's all about. I want people to know they have the power to transform their life. They don't have to stay stuck at that job that they hate. They don't have to be broke because they only have a high school degree, or because their associates or their bachelor's degree is not landing them the job that they hoped, or whatever situation they may be in. You know, I'm still paying off credit card debt because I refused to go bankrupt or, completely default. So it's like I'm almost done. I'm right around the corner from paying all this stuff off, but it was a struggle. It was a struggle, and I can honestly say, like, I've been there. First first person experience. This is not me just saying I understand. I truly understand what it is to be stuck, to be overwhelmed, and to be one step away from feeling totally defeated in life. And you can get out of that, you can get unstuck. And money is not the key to happiness, it's not the solution to everything. But not having it screws up your ability to live the life that you need to live. So
Mm.
I do want to stress, it's not all about money, but not having it doesn't, it's not going to work in today's time, at least in modern society. So if you want to go be a monk and live in a monastery, that's cool too. And you can do that without money. But, you know, for the average person, they're going to need a substantial enough income to meet their needs, to feed themselves, their family, and to have enough to invest in themselves and potentially move in a direction that's going to fulfill them and that is going to allow them to actualize themselves in
Yeah.
life. So for me, first step is getting that freedom through that personal empowerment, through becoming self-employed. And that's what I'm all about.
I love it. I was completely in, well, under a mountain of debt when I was in my late 20s. I was a single parent raising my son by myself, making, at the time, I was making a little over $8 an hour, and my total debt was somewhere over $60,000. School loans. Uh, I had to have a vehicle, so I financed the cheapest, smallest truck I could find. Credit cards from fixing old vehicles. Yeah, it was over 60 something $1,000, and you can't
Mm-hmm.
do that making $8 an hour. You
Not
can't.
even close.
I
Yeah.
looked into bankruptcy, and I just sat back and I said, no, I owe this money. I want to pay this money. And I remember praying, it's like, God, I don't know. This is impossible. It's impossible, but I owe this. I want to pay it. I'm not declaring bankruptcy. I don't know what to do. Um, and I just committed to that. And somehow, part of me can't even tell you how it happened, but it happened. That it took till 2004. Okay. I graduated from high school in 1988. So 4 years of college. It took till 2004, and I finally paid off everything. And I was debt free in 2004. And I am still debt free today. I drive a 25-year-old truck. I live in a 2-bedroom apartment, but I'm debt free. I have committed to
That's it,
being
man.
debt free ever since that. I thought, I'm never doing this again. You can do it. And I love your
Yep.
enthusiasm, and your experience that you bring to this is absolutely something people need to hear. So I love your podcast. I watched your first guest podcast with Jerry Jones, which is not Jerry Jones of the Cowboys, but another Jerry
No,
Jones in
not that one.
Texas, who still has a very remarkable life. And it was a fantastic podcast.
Thank
So
you.
yeah,
Yeah.
anybody
I'm still
listening,
honing my skills.
this is
Good.
worth listening to, his podcast.
Thank you.
And I will put links to
Yeah.
it when I post this interview.
I appreciate that. I'll do the same with yours, and man, I know you're helping a lot of people with this podcast, and I was yours was one of the first ones in the group where I was like, I like this one. Like I'm gonna keep following this. And I was instantly, captivated by the focus of it, and just I think you've got a great way of packaging this for people, and delivering this information. So I'm really inspired by what you're doing as well.
Well, that's what we do. Build each other up. Iron sharpens iron.
Yep,
And
that's right.
that is my purpose in life and goal is I want to let every single person I interact with know that their life is of value. They are of value, whether they see it or not, whether they recognize it or not. It's something I recognize about myself, and I can't not recognize it about other people. And
Yep,
bringing that to other people allows them to expand their life, to overcome obstacles, to look at things in a different way, and to live in a way where they can thrive instead of feel like life is happening to them.
exactly.
You're
I'm a
experiencing life. Yeah.
I'm a firm believer life is happening for you, not to you.
Yeah. And
All
you
the
have,
good and the bad, it's all
yes.
what you need. You
And
don't get
it's
what you want, you get what you need.
exactly what you need. I am thankful, and I know you are too, for every single experience I've had in my life, every one of them, everything that I thought was awful, every downtime, every moment that I thought depression was never going to leave, every piece of debt I've had. I'm thankful for every single one of those experiences because it brought me here with those experiences. And now I can testify to other people who are in the middle of those experiences and help them.
100%. Looking back, I wouldn't change a single thing. And that says something, you know. You only feel that way when you persevere, though. If you give up midway, I put it like this: if you want to get through hell, you have to be willing to go through the fire.
Mhm.
Otherwise, where are you going to be tomorrow? Where are you going to be the next day? If you want to get through hell, you have to be willing to get through the fire, to go through the fire. Yeah, you're going to get burned. Yeah, you're going to have some scars, maybe a little trauma, but you won't be living in hell anymore. And it's all worth it. You get out of it, you get through it, and looking back, chances are you wouldn't change a thing. So that's powerful stuff for
Yeah.
people to know. And you also touched on something, just describing your situation. You're doing things the right way. Like you're doing things smart while everybody is over leveraging themselves and spending money on things they can't afford and ruining their lives and raising their expenses and contributing to their own depression. The things that you finance and go into debt, you don't own them, they own you. And man, it's refreshing to see someone on a track that actually serves them. And I mean, really, the concept is minimize, prioritize, and maximize. And I mean, minimize expenses, minimize possessions, minimize everything to what you need. Prioritize what you need to be doing with your time and money. And then you're able to maximize your return, and you're able to maximize your own potential and get somewhere in life instead of getting stuck with things you don't even need, and situations that aren't serving you, you know.
Yeah. Ooh, that's good.
So
Yeah,
it's really refreshing
I can
to
see a whole
see what you're doing.
podcast by you on that right there, what you said. I know you're gonna bring that out more and more. That's
Yeah.
fantastic. Yeah, man. Well, Eric, I think we're if you got do you have anything to conclude with? What you just said is man, if that's not a something to inspire people to walk forward and keep going, um, nothing is.
Well, hopefully I said it with that. Um, I guess the last thing I would have to say is just uh, to you directly again, your podcast, even, this is a new deal kind of in general, like in the world of things. Podcasting is relatively new, but podcasting is powerful, because it's truth. you know this is We're conveying truth and real life experience and information to people, and I think this is extremely vital, especially right now with everything going on. So again, just want to let you know personally, your podcast has already inspired me to keep going and to work on my craft. And like I said, I'm still honing my skills and getting better at interviewing, and getting better at letting things flow, and practicing on my own, and having guests on. So like you said, iron sharpens iron. So just want to let you know that your podcast has already inspired me, and I look forward to seeing more from you.
Excellent. Well, there's more coming. So, um, yeah, stay tuned. And I'm excited for every single one of them. I love my guests, and I love to explore life and hear others' experiences. So, all right, Eric, man, you and I will have more conversations in the future, because I'm definitely going to stay in touch with you as we go through this process, and just watch you grow.
All right, Gary, that sounds great. And I really appreciate you having me on, and look forward to coming back soon.
All right. We'll talk to you
All right.
later. Bye-bye.
All right, Gary. Have a good one.
All right. Bye.
Bye.